what are the foundational things that you think at different revenue brackets that people can think about?
So from 0 to 400K, it's moving from a hobbyist to a real business. I am a real business. I have a P&L. I have a bookkeeper in place. I'm using shop management software. It's literally the basic building blocks. I'm communicating with customers well. I'm using a domain name and an email service that's
Not
actually
Hotmail?
that's professional. I have a Google listing, right? Those are some check boxes that we take for granted, but some of them are really tough, right? And if your business doesn't look and appear like a business, doesn't talk or run like a business, then it's pretty hard to even think about that. I think from 400 to a million, it's creating those 4 or 5 employees, those key employees around you, like that small core leadership team that you're going to have. I wouldn't even call them leadership team. Your first 4 or 5 employees that are so foundationally important for you to get to the next level.
Do you think that's the same for production staff too? Which
yeah, 100%. But with that, a lot of times when I look at shops that are in that getting to a million, they don't have processes and procedures. They don't have SOPs. Their employees don't have job descriptions. If you were to ask their employees, hey, what do you do every day? They'll say, what don't I do? We all know how to ship. We all know how to do this. We all share everything, right? And I think from that $500,000 to $1 million mark, it's really, really defining the roles and procedures and how your business operates, right? And before
at that stage, though,
at that's what I see happening over and over and over again. Those companies, they scrap their way to $1 million, or they're getting close to it, but the owner is way too involved in it. And I think that's what creates a lot of burnout. I think that's where the owners aren't paying themselves, or they're paying themselves like they're not taking a salary, or they're paying themselves out of profit or whatever's left at the end of the month, right? And I think that's a very, I don't want to say dangerous place to be, but it feels like if you can't break out of that, it could be really daunting and it could feel really hopeless, right? And I think creating the guardrails for that are so important before you can actually start scaling.
I kind of wish at that size too, I would have at that point, and this is a software business, but I think it still relates. I was very focused on the product. Like that was the total goal. I just wanted to build a better product. And I think it's the same for the shop. You just want to get out the next order, help that customer, collect the funds and go to the next one. But I never thought at that stage, which I feel like is the most important, as far as where did I want to go a little bit longer term. And it was hard maybe because, you don't really know what could things look like. But if I could dream up my ideal day, like what do I think it may look like? And that may help create a bit of a North Star to get to, instead of just almost you and a shovel shoveling out dirt in a hole. And then you dig a hole that's deep enough and you're like, all right, let me go to the next hole and just start digging again. And and next thing you know, it's, years and years later and you're still doing the same stuff.
I wish I would have
took a second to think that through a little bit.
So is what you're saying, did anyone sit you down when you were approaching $1 million and say, what do you want your business to look like, feel like, sound like? What do you want your role to be?
Oh,
did you ever write that down?
I never thought about that question. It wouldn't even come close across my mind. It was, we have so much shit to do this week. I have these tickets, these issues, these people I need to rehire for. It was just so much day to day. I never just stopped, stared at the wall and thought in 3 to 5 years. And that book Traction and the EOS stuff, I think helps you start to think about in 10 years, what do you want your business to look like? I think that's a good stage to do it. And if not, then definitely before 700K, because that's, 750 or so, that you got something really strong that's working.
I think when you're running a $750,000 to $1.5 million business, you're running a nice business. It should be spitting off a couple $100,000 for you as a owner and from a profit standpoint, right? Like should be, 10% owners pay, 10% profit. It should be a 25%, what your take home should be. And I think
that the second bracket too?
What?
Or what is the second bracket you were saying?
In relation to
the
like
second
the next
revenue
stage
bracket. Yeah,
I
second
think
stage.
that's kind of the million to 1.5, or once you get to 1 to 2, like I'm running something legit here. I've got different, I've got an employee up front that's taking orders. I've got a couple salespeople, right? I've got a couple production people. I have my right and left hand kind of running for me. I'm still running around with my head cut off. I might be making less money right now because I'm trying to invest in automation. I might be buying a new press. I might go to the trade show and say, shoot, I want to buy an embroidery machine, right? I feel like you're in a stage of your business where it's like a puberty stage. You're going through like these growing pains. And I think it's sometimes demoralizing when you're not making more money, but you're churning out more orders. And I think that's what starts to happen in that like 1 to 1.4 ranges. We're just grinding. We're kind of starting to get more orders, but our overhead starting to really jump. I think the word overhead becomes more and more relevant, and you start to hear it a little bit more. And the reason I say this, Bruce, is this year more than ever, I've heard more and more shops talking about either closing or selling. I can't take it anymore. We're not getting where we want to be. I'm just giving up. And I'm hearing it left and right. And it hurts my heart to hear that a little bit, because you're like, damn, you grinded for 10, 15 years. You've got all this stuff, you have all these assets. Why is this happening? And so I think part of why I enjoy coaching is being able to work with someone for 2-3 months and then hopefully make like a 6-figure impact. That's what I've always said is I want to help you make a 6-figure impact, and then hopefully shock their business to a point where they can look back and say, okay, that was an inflection point in my company. I mean, are you hearing about it more and more, or is it, I don't know.
Yeah, we've got someone that I want to come on to the show when they're available to that closed, but I don't know the macro. Obviously, it's very hard to see the macro. We do see shops that definitely close. I mean, on a larger scale, but even for us at Printavo as a company, I mean, we're still a piece of the market as far as what we see. My guess is like a Nasdaq or a Ryonet or M&R, so someone like that who sells to a lot more businesses would be able to know a little bit more statistics. But I do think that things are tougher, right? I mean, you've got interest rates that are higher. You've got the kind of supply bullwhip effect swinging back. Things aren't as rosy as they were in that 2021, 2022 period. But you know what I was thinking about is that I did wish I have a service like that you're offering. If I would have had that earlier on, it's just a less wasted time. The spending less time on bad hires, spending less time on like, should I hire a manager? Should I not? Should I bite the bullet? I think there's a lot of times where it's like, should I make the jump or should I do a little incremental step? Or what's the better thing to invest in, right? Should I focus more on the production side, the equipment side, or should I invest that into a leader or someone just on the ground floor doing stuff?